I am just back from my Everest Base Camp trek. It was just an exciting, amazing experience. It was quite difficult, but I feel like the Nepal infrastructure and network had made it possible and more accessible for people like me. The luxuries of this trek, one was that, you have access to porters. Porters are people who are going to carry most of your luggage for you. You just carry your basic necessities for the day in your day pack. The other luxury is tea houses. You will be spending your night in a tea house. The room is very basic. So you have a bed, a mattress, a pillow, and they give you a comforter. This room is not centrally heated. However, the community dining area is heated. Electricity, where there's a light bulb in there. However, most of our rooms did not have an electrical socket. But the community dining area does have electrical sockets where initially we were getting free charge for our phone, and also most places had free Wi-Fi. But as you kept going higher in elevation, you had to pay for those. The tea house also had bathrooms. Even if the bathroom was never in our room, the bathrooms were always within 5 to 4 doors down from our room. We were able to pay for hot water. Initially, the hot water was free, running hot water, and later on, we just got a bucket of hot water for 500 to 700 Nepali rupees. The tea houses were available throughout our trek. Every few miles initially there was a tea house. However, I don't think we ever walked more than 3 or 3.5 hours to reach the next tea house. And those tea houses were where we were stopping for either tea or a snack, and that was along the way. So what that did for us was, that was access to water, access to food, and access to a bathroom. So we carried a lot less in our day pack because we knew that in so much time there would be the next tea house where we would be able to stop and take a break. Next, let's talk about food. I never liked to hike on a full stomach, so I used to always have a light breakfast and then I would skip my lunch. I did snack throughout the trek, but I didn't really stop for a full lunch. But we would have a late lunch once we got to the destination. For breakfast, I always had some form of carbohydrate because I knew that I would need the energy. My drink of choice was always honey lemon ginger tea. We would skip lunch at the traditional time for lunch. Between 2 and 4 o'clock, wherever we reached, my lunch would be something that is high in protein because protein helps with recovery. Dal bhat power, 24-hour. Dal is basically lentil, and that's high in protein. And bhat is, of course, rice, and which has carbohydrates. Somehow, even if I had had lunch at 4 o'clock, I was still hungry for dinner at 7. So at 7 o'clock, I knew that my breakfast was going to be light. So I would always eat something nutritious, vegetable fried rice because it would have vegetables and it would have carbs for my, preparing for my next day. You want to try and get at least 4 liters of fluid in your system throughout the day. Our day always started the night before, so we would have a huddle with our guide. His name was Nanda, and I went with a company called Adventures Great Himalaya. So in the huddle, Nanda would ask us first our breakfast request for the next morning. I would always ask Nanda what the expected weather was at wherever we were going. Even if the app and internet was telling you whatever the weather forecast, the guides always knew best because they kind of have a great network of guides. And, if one of their friends had passed a certain location, they would have told us that, oh yeah, the snow was pretty compact over here. You don't need gaiters. He would also tell us, what the distance was going to be to the next tea house. That way I knew and I planned exactly how much water to carry, what food I needed to carry. He would also tell us what the terrain was going to be. So terrain as in, was it going to be more rocky? Was it more uphill, downhill? So if it was going to be more downhill, I always made it a point to carry my hiking poles. And if it was not so much downhill, then I just put my hiking poles in the duffel bag so the porter would carry that. So here's how a typical day would look. If the trek starts at around 7:30, we would always meet for breakfast around 7 o'clock, which meant I would wake up around 6:30 in the morning. Brush your teeth, not with the tap water, and then you would pack your bag. Your porter would come to your room to take your bag to the next destination. So make sure your bags are packed in the morning before you go to breakfast. Just take minimal necessities in your day pack because the heavier it is, it's going to be more challenging. And just remember, at least for me, a lot of the layers came off within the first hour of the hike once we got back to our next tea house. First, I would order what I was going to have for lunch in that tea house. Then I would head to the shower because whenever I was allowed to shower, I would shower whenever I had access to it. They recommend not to shower after Namche Bazaar. I still did it because it just felt relaxing to me. Initially, I will tell you this, the bathrooms are so ice cold. The floor is cold, the air is cold. It's just ridiculous to shower. But when I did not shower, I did wipe myself down with a body wipe, and then I would change. Initially, I would change into my clothes, night clothes, whatever, the thermals that I had. And I had a fleece jacket. I would go to the dining area. However, later on, I had just started sleeping in my hiking clothes that I would wear the next day. After changing, I would head to the community area, and that would be where I would have my lunch, and then we would just hang out. Only in Namche Bazaar and Dingboche did I go to the cafes because there are so many amazing options out there. But otherwise, I would just hang out in the dining area. Everybody, the camaraderie is just amazing. Everyone from all different walks of life and all different parts of the world are over there, and everyone's talking to each other about their experiences and their motivation, and it was very exciting. The community dining area is the only place which is heated, so that was the most comfortable place in the building. Also, you have access to charging ports, and you also have access to Wi-Fi in most of the places. Initially, it was free, and then later on, you had to buy a Wi-Fi card from them. After we socialized, many times we would even play, sit and play cards. So it's a good idea to take playing cards over there. I just bought my pack from Namche Bazaar itself. And then that was it. Around 7:30, we would head back to my room, and, I would just lights out and ready for the next morning. I always took a hot water thermos from the main dining area. I would ask them to heat it up, and then I would put the water in my thermos and I would take it to the room. How this helped is when I woke up in the morning, I would have at least warm water, to drink. Also, I would have the water for brushing my teeth. It is not recommended to use water from the tap for brushing your teeth. Another thing I would do to prepare would be flipping all of my liner socks. So I would take my socks and turn them inside out, and I would hang them to dry. I had 2 or 3 pairs, so I always use them in rotation. Even the shoes, I would take the insole out and I would let that dry so that my shoes wouldn't stink. I would wrap up all my clothes that I was going to wear the next day. I would wrap them up in my down jacket, and I would put them so that they didn't feel that cold when I woke up the next morning. I only did this initially because later on, as we got closer to Gorakshep, I did not want to change in the morning. It was just so cold, so I had started sleeping in the clothes that I was going to wear the next morning. Another thing I did to prepare is electronics. They say sleep with your electronics. Basically, your battery power bank, your batteries, all of the power gets drained, and because it gets so cold. So I used to put those in a little cloth bag, and I would put that in my sleeping bag and sleep with them. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and where to next?